Sir, what are your instructions? I looked at Mr. Hayes, my butler, who stood hesitating, then glanced at the late-night flight confirmation displayed on the iPad. A throbbing pulse hammered at my temples. Let her go, I said, rubbing the spot. If her heart isn't here, how many times can you stop her? Maybe it's for the best. After years of torturing each other, it's time to let go. But what about Mr. and Mrs. Morgan? They've been so eagerly awaiting your wedding with Miss Chloe. I'm afraid the shock would be too much for them. The mention of Arthur and Evelyn gave me pause. They've been like parents to me, and their health wasn't the best. But then a brilliant idea sparked. I beckoned Mr. Hayes closer. Tomorrow, I need you to... As I laid out the plan, the deep worry on his face dissolved, replaced by a glint in his eyes. Sir, that's ingenious. A perfect win-win. And you won't have to put yourself through the ordeal with Miss. He stopped himself awkwardly. I just waved a hand, unconcerned, and told him to get it done. The moment the door clicked shut, it was as if all my strength drained away, and I collapsed into the oversized armchair. I wasn't as indifferent as I had pretended to be for Mr. Hayes. A storm of grief, indignation, and rage crashed against my heart in relentless waves. 17 years. 17 years of devotion, of waiting. How could not hurt? Memories, unbidden, flashed through my mind. Arthur and Evelyn Morgan had saved me. They shielded me from greedy politicians, from relatives who circled like vultures, and from the whispers of the outside world. When I was just 6 years old, orphaned but inheriting a vast corporate empire, they brought me into their home. I first met Chloe Morgan, then only 3 on their doorstep. I was still lost in a fog of grief. She toddled up to me, holding out a half-eaten lollipop like it was a priceless treasure, and lisped, Leo, Ave Andy, be happy. It was like a ray of sun piercing through a storm cloud, scattering the grief and confusion that had consumed me. Tears streamed down my face as I put the candy in my mouth. Little Chloe seemed bewildered that someone could eat candy and cry at the same time. She stood frozen for a moment, unsure what to do. Then, as if an idea struck her, she tugged on my sleeve, motioning for me to kneel. When I knelt, she leaned in close and blew a soft puff of air on my cheek. It smelled of milk and sugar. Leo, she whispered, blow the ouchie away. A Real laugh broke through my tears. I wiped my eyes, scooped her into my arms, and planted a kiss on her chubby little cheek. She immediately smacked a wet kiss back on mine, and then burst into giggles, her big, bright eyes squinting into happy crescents. Behind us, Arthur and Evelyn were delighted to see their daughter, so taken with the new arrival. What did I tell you? Arthur boomed. Leo's such a handsome kid. I knew Chloe would love him. Evelyn playfully nudged him. She gets that from you. A weakness for a pretty face, even at her age. Hey, if I didn't have a weakness for a pretty face, you wouldn't be Mrs. Morgan. Evelyn swatted his arm before leading the way into the house. Chloe grabbed my hand and pulled me along to share her collection of dolls and picture books, earnestly introducing each doll by name. I'll never forget that day. It was Chloe, adorable and inseparable, who pulled me from the mire of my sorrow. For the next 17 years, she was my little shadow, my constant companion. Protecting her smile became the driving force behind everything I did. She struggled in school, so I worked twice as hard to prepare simplified, comprehensive notes to tutor her. She loved food, so I spent my free time learning from our chefs to cook for her. Whatever she liked, I learned. Whatever she disliked or struggled with, I took on for her. I gradually became the perfect kid next door everyone talked about. The truth is, I wasn't a genius. I just wanted to make her happy. Dawn broke. I've been sitting there all night, unable to fathom how we'd ended up here. Maybe she got bored. Maybe we just weren't meant to be. A knock on the door broke my trance and solidified my resolve. Today, the story of us would finally have its ending. I arrived at the venue early, doing a final walkthrough. Mr. Hayes had executed everything perfectly. Once I confirmed there were no oversights, I went to pick up Arthur and Evelyn. Leo, dear, you arranged all of this yourself? It's wonderful. So much more thoughtful than Arthur was, Evelyn gushed. Then her brow furrowed. Wait, why did he use an old family photo of all of us here? Shouldn't this be your and Chloe's engagement portrait? Arthur, who had been about to protest, was also drawn in. Arthur, Evelyn, I began, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. You're the closest family Chloe and I have. My parents are gone, and in my heart, you've always been my mom and dad. On this happy day, I wanted you to be part of it, even in a photograph. The explanation was calm, but the truth stung. An engagement portrait? After she stood me up for the first shoot, there was never another word about it. I wasn't about to use a Photoshop picture. Arthur looked like he was about to say something, but was interrupted by the arrival of the first guests. I escorted them to their table and went to greet the incoming crowd. Arthur, my heart is pounding, Evelyn murmured, watching me at the entrance. I have a bad feeling something is going to happen today. Have you noticed Chloe isn't here? Arthur said, his eyes scanning the room. Not a word from her since last night. She's probably getting her dress on. They had a fight, but I spoke with her 2 days ago. She told me she loves Leo, that it was just a misunderstanding she would fix. I hope you're right, he sighed. I hope she doesn't do something foolish on a day like this. Otherwise, I fear Leo might truly be lost to us. Soon, the hall was full. A few uninvited reporters had even caught wind of the event and shown up. A little trick from the Vance family, no doubt. Suddenly, a voice cut through the chatter. Hey, look, the live stream of the City Circuit Race award ceremony. The winner is Dylan Vance, isn't it? And that woman next to him. Is that Chloe Morgan? One stone tossed into a calm lake. Everyone pulled out their phones. I glanced at Dylan's parents, the smug, triumphant smiles on their faces. I felt no panic. The one who laughs last, laughs best. At the main table, Arthur and Evelyn's faces were ashen. They were about to stand up, but I caught their eye and gave a slight shake of my head. I walked onto the stage, took the microphone from the MC, and spoke calmly. I'm curious to see if that's really Chloe, too. Watching on a small phone is so inconvenient. Let's put on the big screen. The massive screen behind me switched to a live feed of the award ceremony. There was Dylan Vance in his racing suit, giving his victory speech. And beside him, in a simple beige dress and a sun hat, was Chloe. Even without makeup, she was stunning, the loose dress failing to hide her curves. It was undeniably her. Then, Dylan said he wanted to thank his girlfriend, Chloe Morgan, for her unwavering support and love. Chloe blushed, but didn't deny it. Every eye in the room, some curious, some worried, some furious, some malicious, swung to me. I placed a restraining hand on Arthur's shoulder as he and Evelyn started to rise. I calmly took in the expression of every person in that hall, memorizing them. It's not often you get such a clear chance to distinguish friend from foe. Not bad. It seemed I was more popular than I thought. Apart from the Vance and Sterling family branches, most reactions were sympathetic. Seeing a few of my idiot cousins from the Sterling side about to make a scene, I raised the microphone. So, Chloe has found someone she loves. I'm so happy for her. She kept it a secret so well, even from me, the big brother who grew up with her. It really breaks my heart. I put on a look of profound sadness. A few people in the audience looked utterly confused. This wasn't in the script, but that's okay. I continued. Her boyfriend's big race is a day you just can't miss. I guess it's up to me, the soon-to-be big brother, to be magnanimous. It's a good thing the main event for this party can still proceed. Stealing my sister is one thing, but making me late for my own adoption ceremony? He better not expect me to go easy on him as his future brother-in-law. With that, the screen behind me shifted to a montage of photos of me with Arthur and Evelyn over the years. The MC, catching on, smoothly transitioned into the ceremony. I joined Arthur and Evelyn backstage. After explaining the situation to their anxious and mortified faces, I spoke with complete sincerity. Arthur, Evelyn, Chloe, and I. It was never meant to be. You can't force matters of the heart. For the sake of our family's reputations, and to protect the love I have for this family, this was the only way. Uncle Arthur, Aunt Evelyn, will you be my mom and dad? Evelyn was already in tears, and Arthur's eyes were red. My dear boy, you've been wronged. It's our fault for not raising Chloe better. What you did, it was the best possible solution. Your Aunt Anne, I wanted to adopt you all those years ago, but the situation was too complicated. Haha, who knew that after all this time, we were destined to be a family after all? That's right, Leo, Evelyn said, composing herself. Your uncle and I would be honored to be your parents. As for Chloe, if she's blind, let her be. Mom will find you someone better. I saw several lovely girls giving you the eye out there. I'll ask around for you later. Oh hell, I hadn't planned for that. I shouldn't have invited them. Thanks to Chloe, I nearly dated every eligible bachelorette in New York City. I used to think she was testing me. Now I realize she just wanted me to leave her alone. After a heartfelt speech and a warm embrace that replaced any outdated ceremony, I officially became their adopted son, Chloe's older brother. The shotgun adoption party was a resounding success. There was one surprise, however. Arthur took the stage and publicly announced that I would have primary inheritance rights to all his companies, shares, and properties, superseding Chloe. Furthermore, Chloe would only have dividend rights. All operational and decision-making power would be mine. With a room full of business and political titans as witnesses, those words were ironclad. I knew it was their way of compensating for their guilt and welcoming me. I was deeply moved, vowing to be a good son to them and to protect Chloe as my real sister for the rest of her life. My original plan was just to secure my place, then cut ties with her completely. The faces of the Vance family and my Sterling cousins turned green. They left before the party was even over. They could go home and wait for the inevitable. Leo, man, you're a legend. You completely turned that around. Now you're really my cousin, said Kyle, Evelyn's nephew. He used to be a little terror until I corrected his personality a few years back, turning him into my most loyal follower. You should have seen their faces. Don't worry about Chloe, she's blind. There are girls who would kill to be Mrs. Sterling. I'll call my sister and get her back here right now. Several other sons of prominent families chimed in, offering condolences and volunteering their sisters. I managed a weary smile and declined. I said I was fine, but how could I get over it so easily? I wouldn't be ready to date for at least a couple of years. Leo, over here. It was Evelyn, waving me over. I looked and my heart sank. She was surrounded by a half-dozen of New York's most influential society dames, and the very women my friends had just mentioned were all fawning over my new mother. Damn it. No wonder those girls were so quiet. They were going straight to the source. Hey, Leo, you handle that, Kyle said with a wink. The guys are getting a party together tonight. Time for you to stop being a saint. Before I could answer, he disappeared into the crowd. After finally excusing myself from the guests, I went up to the rooftop terrace alone, needing a cigarette. I didn't expect to find anyone there, least of all her, Isabella Rossi, Dylan Vance's older, estranged half-sister. To my astonishment, she was wearing a wedding gown. Her already captivating face was flawlessly made up, making her breathtakingly beautiful. The gown accentuated her perfect figure, making her the embodiment of every man's fantasy of a bride. She looked as surprised to see me as I was to see her. Seeing me stunned into silence, she walked over, did a slow turn, and gave me a playful smile. Like what you see, Leo the block of wood. Izzy the vixen, I retorted. Last I checked, you weren't getting married today. This hotel doesn't have another wedding scheduled. Our history was complicated. I'd been drugged by Kyle's sister, Lauren. Stumbling away, I burst into a random suite and found Izzy, who'd been set up by her own brother. I quickly knocked out the two half-dressed goons, tied them up, and threw them in the adjoining room. Then I looked at Izzy, flushed and weak on the bed. For a split second, I hesitated, but she managed to lift her head, look me over, and murmur, "You're not bad looking." My treat. Then she lay back as if offering herself up. My treat. Who was treating whom? I was Leo Sterling, one of the most eligible bachelors in the city, rich and brilliant. Losing my virginity to you. It was an open question who was getting the better deal. I wasn't going to waste it on some mysterious woman in a setup. I'd rather have given it to Lauren. At least I knew who she was. For all I knew, this was just another trap. So, gritting my teeth, I emptied the entire ice bucket into the bathtub, filled it with cold water, stripped down, and submerged myself. Every so often I'd have to stand up and douse myself with cold water. I heard soft moans from the other room and worried she was in trouble. The drug was finally wearing off, so I quickly dried off, dressed, and rushed out. She had shifted, propping her head up to look straight at the bathroom. A blanket pulled over her, hands tucked underneath. I followed her gaze and cursed. The bathroom wall was smoked glass, but with the light on, it was practically transparent. I had been putting on a one-man show, Her face was scarlet, her eyes smoldering. Whatever idiot drugged her used way too much. Worried she'd suffer brain damage, I scooped her up and carried her to the tub to cool her down. After placing her in the water, I searched the goons for a phone, found one, and used a thumbprint to unlock it. I called Mr. Hayes and told him to send a discreet team. Then I went back to keep an eye on Izzy. A while later, she regained some clarity. Her first words made my blood boil. You took the drug, and you still can't perform? You're the one who can't perform. Sober. I could keep you in bed for 3 days straight. I wasn't about to take that. You're not my type. I shot back. And I'm still a virgin. I'm not wasting it on you. That shut her up. Then she leaned over and bit my arm. Hard. What was she, a dog? After I got her to a private hospital, I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. It was the beginning of a relentless pursuit. She chased, and I stood firm. Thus, Izzy the vixen and Leo the block of wood were born. Don't be dense, block of wood, she said now, her voice sharp. Who else is having a wedding today? Whose fiancée just ran out on him? Hey, if you don't mention that, we can still be friends. But Izzy stalked towards me, her heels clicking aggressively on the stone tiles. I backed away instinctively until I hit the wall. Her stunning face was inches from mine, and my heart skipped a beat. Leo Sterling, don't play dumb with me. I came here today to be your bride. I just didn't expect you to be so clever that my services wouldn't be needed. What Chloe Morgan won't cherish, I will. The first moment I saw you, I knew I didn't want to be your friend. I want to be your wife. Leo, wake up. Chloe isn't right for you. Why can't you accept that? Why won't you even look at me? Seeing the tears welling in her eyes, the armor around my wounded heart finally cracked. A woman, willing to wear a wedding dress and stand by your side on the most humiliating day of your life. It was perhaps the most moving declaration of love I could imagine. Izzy, I said softly, just give me some time, okay? I'm over Chloe, but that relationship, it makes me afraid to start something new. Everything you've done today, I'm grateful and I'm moved, but I can't respond to your feelings right now. It wouldn't be fair to you. Really, you're not lying? Really? Then kiss me. To prove it. I was about to refuse, but tears started streaming down her face. I reached up to wipe them away, but she caught my hand, her puckered lips silently repeating the demand. Looking at the tear stains on her cheeks, I couldn't say no. I leaned down and captured her soft lips. Her response was clumsy but passionate. The intoxicating scent of her perfume, the sweetness of her taste. I was losing myself in it. I only pulled back when she tapped lightly on my chest. Her face was flushed from lack of oxygen. This little vixen, could this be her first kiss? It was, by the way, ouch. Izzy said, taking a step back. She stumbled, and I caught her. Are you okay? I twisted my ankle. It hurts. I'll help you downstairs to ice it. No, carry me. Princess style. After that kiss, how could I refuse? I slid one arm under her knees and the other around her back, lifting her easily. She wrapped her arms around my neck, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. You remember the room where we first met? She whispered, her warm breath tickling my ear. She really was a vixen. My defenses were crumbling at an alarming rate. Downstairs into the room, set her down, found her phone, handed it to her, then made an excuse about having things to do and bolted. It was a seamless escape. If I stayed any longer, I'd be taking her to meet my parents tomorrow. The thought brought a new wave of darkness. There was still the Vance family between us. Even if she hated them, what happened today was enough for my new parents to see them as mortal enemies. They schemed against their daughter, tried to ruin their relationship with me, and publicly humiliated both our families. Even if Chloe was dead set on Dylan, the Vance family didn't have to exist, did they? Everyone knew Dylan Vance was scum. Only Chloe refused to listen, like she was under a spell. Maybe that's what love is. It didn't matter anymore. It had nothing to do with me. I'd already told my parents. I was leaving tomorrow for Germany, for the Technical University of Munich, to pursue my real dream in mechanical engineering. After a long night out with Kyle and the guys, my head was pounding. The hangover cure I drank didn't do a thing. Sitting in a quiet corner of the airport lounge waiting to board, I closed my eyes and massaged my temples. Suddenly, a pair of soft hands replaced mine, gently working the tension from my head. I opened my eyes to Izzy's radiant face. A full-force beauty assault first thing in the morning. My resistance to her had been plummeting ever since that night on the terrace. What are you doing here? Seeing you off, of course. My man is going abroad to chase his dreams. As his future wife, it's my duty to be here. Wait, how did you know I was going abroad for my dream? I could be going for a business deal. Not only do I know you're chasing your dream, I know you're going to Germany, and I know your dream is. She leaned in and whispered it in my ear. I froze. Did she have mind-reading powers? No one knew about this but me. I can't read minds, don't worry. You say that, but I'm not so sure. Before I could respond, she pushed me back into the chair, swung her legs over, and sat on my lap. Then she leaned down and kissed me. I was stunned for a second, then found myself melting into her tender, passionate kiss. We finally broke apart, breathless, more than 10 minutes later. Lost in the moment, I hadn't noticed a familiar figure hurry past in the distance. This vixen was on another level. Yesterday, she was a total novice, and today she was an expert, even trying new things. Was she faking it yesterday? Yesterday really was my first kiss, she said, reading my mind again. This young lady is a genius. A little practice, a little technique. And you mind? Somebody report her for cheating. Still, this feeling of being so in sync with someone. It wasn't bad. We just stared at each other, the air around us practically shimmering with pink bubbles. The boarding announcement for my flight broke the spell. Without a word, Izzy stood up. She walked me all the way to the gate, fussing over me like a wife sending her husband off on a long journey, straightening my collar and smoothing out wrinkles. Block of wood, she said softly. As soon as I handle things back home, I'll come find you in Germany. Make sure you buy a nice big house. Something by the mountains and the water. I want to wear a swimsuit just for you. I had to admit, my future suddenly held a new and exciting dimension. My academic advisor said he found an apartment for me near campus. Who was he? I hadn't even enrolled yet. Watching the plane take off, Izzy felt a surge of triumph. A man with someone in his heart and a man without were two different creatures. With Chloe, his heart was a fortress no one could breach. But with his heart empty, he was just an innocent, pure-hearted guy. Easy prey. All those times he called her a vixen weren't for nothing. Now, she had to clean up the mess back home, and she'd have to give that idiot Chloe a hand at some point. After all, she was like a sister to Leo for over a decade. If she really got into trouble, he would be upset, and Izzy didn't want him getting dragged back into that drama. Driving out of the parking garage, Izzy spotted Chloe on the curb. A wicked impulse took over, and she pulled the car over. Need a ride, Miss Morgan? Chloe looked surprised. It really was that seductress, Izzy, the woman she'd just seen kissing a man in the airport. How shameless. She regretted not taking a picture to send to Leo. Then he'd see what kind of tramp was harassing him. No, thank you. Don't be so cold. We'll be family soon. We can't have things be so tense between us. Who's family with you? Leo is mine. He would never like a slut like you who makes out with men in public. Even knowing everything Chloe had done, Izzy couldn't help but laugh. The girl was truly clueless, completely brainwashed by her so-called friends. If she hadn't been lucky enough to grow up with Leo, a fool like her wouldn't have even registered on his radar. Izzy felt a pang of jealousy for the dozen-plus years Chloe had been cherished by him. All right, she decided. Time to teach her a lesson later. Without another word, Izzy sped away. Watching the sports car disappear, Chloe felt a strange sense of dread. She'd had a nightmare last night that Leo had run off with his vixen. That's why she'd left Dylan so abruptly and taken the first flight back. Leo, I know what I did was awful, but I love you. I'm still pure. It was all just an act with Dylan. I had to show those people how much you love me, that you would forgive me even after I did something like that. We'll get married right away and live happily ever after. After reassuring herself, Chloe hailed a cab and headed home. Back at the house, Chloe looked eagerly towards the dining room. Her parents were there, but the person she was desperate to see was missing. Mom, Dad, why didn't you wake Leo for breakfast? It's so late. I'll go get him. Don't bother, Arthur said, his voice cold. He couldn't hide his anger at seeing her act as if nothing had happened. You just worry about yourself. Chloe, let's eat first. Evelyn intervened, trying to prevent a fight. Your father and I have something to ask you. They ate in tense silence. Afterwards, in the study, Evelyn spoke first. Chloe, your father and I aren't dinosaurs. If you truly don't love Leo, we wouldn't have forced you. But you shouldn't have hurt him like this. Mom, I love Leo more than anyone. Yesterday was my final test for him. I'm going to apologize and throw him an even grander engagement party. Arthur and Evelyn stared at her, dumbfounded, as if seeing their daughter for the first time. Forget it, Arthur said, suddenly looking 10 years older. Chloe, I don't care if you're telling the truth or lying. It doesn't matter anymore. If you want that loser Dylan Vance, that's your choice. We can't control you. Your brother, and we can only guarantee that if your life goes south, you'll at least have the resources to get a divorce. Dad, what are you talking about? How could I like Dylan? I only love Leo. Chloe, are you really my daughter? How did you become like this? Evelyn exclaimed in disbelief. Chloe, look at what you've done. Arthur roared, throwing an iPad at her feet. If it weren't for your brother, you would have disgraced our entire family. Running out on your engagement to test your fiancée. I may be old, but I'm not senile. You were trying to see how far you could push Leo, trying to have it both ways. How did you turn into this person? Chloe's world spun. Things were spiraling out of her control. She looked at the video on the iPad, and her heart seized with panic. She could have made an excuse for leaving the party, but leaving and then publicly declaring her love for another man. That was career suicide. That was stomping on her family's name and Leo's heart. No, that's not it. That wasn't my intention. I'll go explain to Leo. Panicked, Chloe bolted from the study and ran towards Leo's room. She found the maids packing his personal belongings into boxes. What are you doing? Where's Leo? Put that down. All of you out, Arthur said, having followed her. Chloe, what is this madness? I don't care what you were thinking. As of now, Leo is officially your brother, our adopted son. If you want to debase yourself, we can't stop you, but you will not drag him down with you. He's already left the country. You will stay in this house and reflect on what you have done. Arthur then had the maids escort a stunned Chloe back to her room and lock the door. Inside, Chloe felt a chill seep into her bones, as if her blood had turned to ice. Leo was her brother. He left the country. He didn't want her anymore. Her hands trembling, she pulled out her phone and dialed his number. Voicemail. It's okay, she told herself. He's on the plane. He wouldn't abandon me. It was the only thought that kept her from shattering completely. After countless tries, the call finally connected. Leo, it's not what it looked like. I don't like Dylan Vance. I was just testing you one last time. I was wrong, please, will you come back? Oh, Leo's voice was calm, detached. So I failed the test. I guess we're not compatible. I'm only suited to be your brother. I wish you and Dylan the best. If there's nothing else, please don't call again. I have a heavy course load, and international calls are expensive. Before Chloe could say another word, he hung up. She tried calling back repeatedly, but he declined each time. Then, her calls went straight to voicemail again. He turned his phone off. Panic set in. She had really screwed up this time. Leo had never been so cold to her. His words were drawing a clear, uncrossable line between them. Desperate, she called her best friend. Vanessa, Leo is furious. He doesn't want me anymore. What do I do? This isn't how you said it would go. Chloe, come to our usual spot. Everyone's here. We can all talk about it. The voice on the other end was laced with a mockery and glee that Chloe, in her distraught state, completely missed. When she arrived at the private room, seeing her best friends gathered there, Chloe felt a small sense of relief. She failed to notice the strange looks they were all giving her. After she haltingly explained the situation, the girls exchanged glances. Finally, one of them, a striking girl named Vanessa, spoke up. So, let me get this straight, Chloe. Leo is completely done with you. He's left the country, and he's now your adopted brother? Chloe flinched and nodded miserably. She still couldn't accept that the fiancé she loved was now her brother. And now your parents, and everyone else, thinks you're in love with Dylan Vance and ran out on your engagement for him? The pain was like a knife in her gut. That wasn't it. Everyone misunderstood. That's not what she wanted. Well, that's an easy fix, Vanessa said. You have an idea? Chloe asked, clinging to a sliver of hope. Sure. Just marry Dylan Vance and be Mrs. Vance. So what if Leo doesn't want you? You still have your precious Dylan. Vanessa's voice dripped with the satisfaction of long-awaited revenge. Chloe was too stunned to speak. The other girls, who had been watching silently, now chimed in, urging her to settle down with Dylan. Her head was spinning. Why were her friends saying these things? Then, through the chaos, a flash of clarity hit her. Vanessa, she whispered, You set me up? Vanessa and the others paused, surprised she'd figured out. Took you long enough, Vanessa sneered. We just told you to stand him up. We hadn't even gotten to the next part of the plan before you went and destroyed yourself. Running off with that piece of trash Dylan Vance? Honestly, Chloe, you're a special kind of stupid. Even we were shocked by that move. Ha ha ha. But why? I thought we were friends. Chloe wailed, completely breaking down. Why? Vanessa took a sip of her drink, her voice filled with venom. Chloe, look around this room. Is there a single one of us you haven't played for a fool? I never did that to you. No. You told every single one of us that you didn't love Leo, that he was just a brother to you. You encouraged us to go after him, even pushed him to spend time with us. We believed you. We were grateful to you. What do you call that if not playing us for fools? Vanessa's eyes filled with tears of regret. You knew I'd fallen for him at first sight, that my own wild past made me feel like I could only admire him from afar. I knew I wasn't worthy, that I never stood a chance because he loved you so much. It was you, she continued, her voice shaking with rage. You kept pushing me, giving me hope. I knew it was impossible, but I thought, what if, with your support, maybe I had a better chance than anyone. He rejected me, and I don't hate him for it. I hate you. All of us warned you about Dylan Vance, but you listened to him instead, using all of us to test Leo. Did you ever stop to think what would happen if we actually fell for him? You gave us false hope while you took his love for granted and hurt him over and over. How dare you? You ending up like this is exactly what you deserve. Leo would never take you back now. You're only fit for garbage like Dylan Vance. Huh? I'm not garbage. I'm still a virgin. I'm clean. Chloe, who had been drowning in guilt, screamed back. Clean? Who's going to believe that? Vanessa said, tossing an iPad in front of her. Chloe's vision swam. The screen showed a gossip site's homepage, with a lead story about her and Dylan entering a hotel together. It was trending everywhere. The comments were brutal. Racing by day, racing by night. A true champion. That's not true. Nothing happened between us. I can go to a hospital and get proof. Chloe shrieked, smashing the iPad on the floor. You're Chloe Morgan. How hard would it be to fake a doctor's report? Besides, hymens can be repaired. And there are other ways to have fun, aren't there? You can't explain this away. It doesn't matter if you're actually clean. If everyone thinks you're dirty, then you are. Vanessa's words were like a devil's whisper. The other girls pointed and muttered, and Chloe crumpled to the floor, trembling uncontrollably. Seeing her like this, Vanessa felt a savage pleasure. This was karma for all the pain Chloe had inflicted on Leo. Vanessa called the Morgan residence to have someone pick Chloe up. She couldn't let her have a complete breakdown here. Even knowing she and Leo were impossible, she still wanted to maintain a decent image in his eyes. Led home by a maid, dazed and numb, Chloe saw Isabella Rossi in the living room, speaking quietly with her parents. Unlike her flirtatious demeanor from the day before, Izzy was wearing a chic, professional suit, her makeup subtle. She looked elegant and impeccable. Isabella Rossi, what are you doing here? You're not welcome. Chloe was panicked and hostile. Izzy was too beautiful, too smart. And she and Leo had inside jokes, nicknames, that used to be Chloe's exclusive privilege. Now that she had hurt Leo so deeply, would he still reject this woman? Chloe, do not be rude to our guest. Apologize, Arthur said sternly. Chloe felt the world crashing down. In one night, everyone had turned on her. Her fiancé was gone. Her best friends were her enemies. Her parents were disappointed in her, and her reputation was ruined. She stood there stubbornly, refusing to apologize. It's all right, Mr. Morgan, Izzy said calmly, even offering Chloe a small smile. She's still young. Chloe trembled with rage. Was this woman mocking her? All she wanted was to run and hide. She fled the living room and ran upstairs, her mind starting to fracture under the strain. If she could just sleep, maybe when she woke up, everything would be back to normal. Miss Rossi, Arthur said, returning to the conversation. I assume you aren't helping our family out of sheer goodwill. Mr. Morgan, Leo just left for Germany today. If he finds out what's happening here, he'll abandon his plans and come back. He finally made the decision to chase his dream. I don't want him to give that up because of this. And besides, Izzy thought, the Vances had tormented Leo for too long. If she didn't get rid of them, she was afraid it would always be a dark cloud in his mind. I had no idea Leo had such a caring friend, Evelyn said, studying Izzy with growing approval. She was poised, beautiful, and she cared deeply for Leo. You two must be very close for him to tell you these things. After some more polite conversation, Izzy left. Upstairs, Evelyn knocked on Chloe's door for a long time with no answer. She pulled out her phone and texted, "Chloe, I think Isabella is a wonderful girl. I'm thinking of introducing her to your brother. What do you think?" Less than a minute later, the door creaked open. Chloe stood there, pale and disheveled, her eyes bloodshot. She looked like she could collapse at any moment. Seeing her daughter in such a state, the lecture Evelyn had prepared died on her lips. "Chloe," she said softly, "get some rest. No matter what happens, we're always here for you." She pulled Chloe into a hug. The wave of motherly comfort after so much trauma finally broke the dam. Chloe began to sob, and they sank to the floor, Evelyn just holding her, listening as Chloe cried out her apologies and regrets about Leo. When Chloe finally cried herself to sleep, Evelyn motioned to Arthur, who had been sitting against the wall down the hall. They carried Chloe to her bed and quietly left the room. Once the door was closed, Evelyn's usual gentle demeanor vanished, replaced by a cold fury. "Arthur, we've been quiet for too many years. People have forgotten who we are. That social climbing parasite, Charles Vance, and his illegitimate son dare to scheme against my children. I want them to know what a living hell feels like. Darling, the Vances are easy to deal with. The real problem is Leo and Chloe. And Isabella. She's clearly in love with Leo, and we owe her a great debt. How do we handle the three of them?" Arthur wasn't worried about the Vances. They were clowns. The love triangle, however, was a genuine crisis. At this, the former titan of industry was at a loss. It was a fact that Chloe's foolishness had deeply wounded Leo. She loved them both, but she couldn't in good conscience ask Leo to just forget everything and take Chloe back. And then there was Izzy, circling, holding the very evidence that could clear Chloe's name. If they sided with Chloe, they would be wronging Leo and Izzy. If they stayed neutral, Chloe didn't even have a seat at the table. Any random socialite in New York had a better shot than her now. Seeing his wife's distress, Arthur gently massaged her temples. "Let's take it one step at a time. I'll talk to Chloe tomorrow. You handle the Vances. When we have a moment, we can sound Leo out. Worst case, he could just marry them both." "He will not. I'll break his legs." "Whose legs do you want to break? My son is an amazing man. He deserves 2 wives. I'm just so angry I'm not thinking straight. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Nothing's even happened yet." The next day, Evelyn found Chloe haunted and jumpy after a night of nightmares. It was both infuriating and heartbreaking. How could she have played a winning hand so badly that she wasn't even in the game anymore? "Daughter, I need you to tell me exactly what is going on with you and Dylan Vance. I've been reviewing what you've been up to these past few years while your father and I were abroad for treatment. Honestly, if you weren't my daughter for torturing Leo like that, I would have had you shipped off and sold for parts." Chloe was silent for a long time before her hoarse voice finally explained everything. Ever since their families had announced their future engagement, Chloe and Leo had been overjoyed, truly in love. But as time went on, the whispers started. Chloe was just lucky, a childhood friend whose family had done Leo a favor. She was nothing without him. She didn't deserve him. She started trying desperately to prove herself worthy, to show everyone they were a perfect match. But she felt like she was failing. The insecurity became a nightmare. So she started acting out, testing Leo. In his unconditional tolerance, she found reassurance that he was still hers, a way to show the world how much he loved her. But the relief was temporary. The insecurity always came back. Then she had a car accident. In a daze, she thought she saw Dylan Vance making a phone call nearby. Later, the hospital told her that if she had arrived 10 minutes later, she would have been paralyzed for life. She believed Dylan had saved her. After a few meetings, he convinced her he was a misunderstood good guy, even showing her plaques from other accident victims he had supposedly rescued. Chloe felt like she had discovered a truth that not even Leo could see, which gave her a delusional sense of superiority. She started confiding in Dylan, seeing him frequently, taking his advice to have other girls test Leo's loyalty. Looking back now, Chloe realized how many people she had hurt because of Dylan. She'd ruined Leo's birthday party for him. Leo never celebrated his birthday again after that. She'd skipped her own surprise party, which Leo and her friends had planned, to go street racing with Dylan all night. One cut after another, until everyone believed she was madly in love with Dylan, and Leo was just her pathetic, loyal doormat. She had heard the rumors and felt a secret thrill. If people saw Leo as less than perfect, maybe the gap between them wouldn't seem so vast. Now she knew how wrong she was. In everyone else's eyes, she was just a pathetic fool messing around with scum like Dylan, unworthy of Leo's devotion. Everyone wanted to break them up, believing Leo deserved better. Without her, Leo had a line of women waiting to love him. The reform party girl Vanessa, the stunning Isabella Rossi, the lovesick Lauren who had resorted to drugs. And her. She was now just as tarnished as Dylan. No one would ever believe she was innocent. Seeing the vacant, tear-streaked look in Chloe's eyes, Evelyn felt a pang of regret. She and Leo had sheltered her too well. Her mindset was immature. To a strong person, rumors are just noise. To Chloe, they were a hurricane, and her pride kept her from asking for help. It was no wonder she fell into the Van Cess trap. Evelyn knew she had to counsel Chloe carefully, or her life would be ruined, regardless of the proof of innocence Izzy had provided. Chloe, did you know that Leo had a proprietary alert system installed in every car in our family's fleet? If a car is involved in a collision of a certain magnitude, the system instantly sends an alert to a private hospital where a dedicated ambulance team is on standby 24/7. The words hit Chloe like a bolt of lightning. She had been wrong about who even saved her, and the next revelation shattered her completely. The reason Dylan Vance was at the scene, the reason he has all those thank you plaques, is because he causes the accidents. He likes to race in traffic, intentionally sideswiping cars. He has a driver take the offending vehicle away while he stays behind to admire his work and play the hero, calling 911. Chloe felt like she was going insane. To Dylan, she was just a puppet he was toying with. Every time she defended him, she was just a clown performing for his amusement. She was filled with a desperate, horrifying clarity. Everyone had told her Dylan was a monster. She alone had prided herself on her unique insight. Now she remembered the satisfied smiles on the Van Cess faces whenever they saw her. They weren't smiling at her. They were smiling at the prospect of devouring her family's fortune through her. A murderous rage filled her, her eyes turning bloodshot. She wanted to tear the Van Cess limb from limb. Seeing the murderous intent in her daughter's eyes, Evelyn felt a grim satisfaction. That's my child. Stupidity wasn't fatal. Being victimized and lacking the courage to fight back, that was. All right, Chloe, your father is handling the Van Cess. They will learn the meaning of suffering. What you need to do now is get yourself together, go to your friends and apologize. Earn their forgiveness. Mom, Chloe asked, a desperate hope in her voice. Will he ever forgive me? Evelyn hesitated. Forgiving Chloe was one thing. Letting her back into his heart was another. She had watched Leo grow up. He was loyal and devoted, but once his love was exhausted, he could cut his losses without a second thought. He believed in reciprocity. He gave his whole heart and demanded the same in return. If it wasn't for their shared childhood, for the love that was intertwined with family, he would have dumped Chloe the first time she chose Dylan over him. Now, after everything, regardless of the truth, in Leo's eyes, she was tainted, unworthy of his trust. And how do you rebuild trust with someone who no longer believes in you? It seemed an impossible task. Evelyn could only advise Chloe to take it one step at a time. Win back his friends first, then try to win back him. The next 6 months in New York were turbulent. First came the news of Leo Sterling's adoption by the Morgans, a union of two corporate giants. Anyone with connections knew it was supposed to be an engagement party, but no one was foolish enough to mention it. The very next day, the scandal about Chloe and Dylan Vance broke. The smart money knew the Vance family was doomed. The Morgans had been out of the spotlight, not out of the game. Scheming against their daughter was suicide. Sure enough, the full, unedited video was leaked shortly after, showing that Chloe and Dylan had no physical contact, and that she was only there to thank him for what she believed was a heroic act. A few days later, Dylan Vance was implicated in a series of vehicular incidents across several cities. His father, Charles, was accused of witness tampering and bribery. Then, on the day of their arrest, the fiancée allegedly engaged in a firefight with police and escaped. The NYPD issued a warrant and then fell bizarrely silent. Everyone knew where they really were. They were in the hands of the Morgans. Once the family's anger was sated, the fiancée would be discovered by the police one day and killed while resisting arrest. With the Vance men gone, their company didn't collapse. Before anyone could react, Isabella Rossi had taken complete control of all Vance Industries. The Morgan Corporation then awarded a major contract to the newly restructured Rossi Group, and everyone understood a deal had been made. Izzy's position was secure. And then, the brilliant new CEO, just as her company stabilized, disappeared abroad. Are you sure it was a good idea to just leave your mother's loyal executives behind and run off to Germany? Leo asked, an amused twitch at the corner of his mouth as he looked at the beaming woman in front of him. I told them I was coming to chase after the company's new prince consort, Izzy said, linking her arm through his. They all promised to hold down the fort and told me to hurry up and bring him back. So if you're worried about my company, you should just marry me already. Feeling the soft pressure against his arm, Leo sighed in defeat. By the way, block of wood, I don't have a place to stay. You'll take me in, right? No, get a hotel. In the end, he caved. A goddess who would drop a corporate empire to chase you across the world. You'd have to be made of stone, not to be moved. And Leo knew he would have to get married eventually. Izzy was, without question, a top-tier choice. More importantly, she just got him. Being with her felt like a meeting of minds. And so, they started living together in a villa near the university, with a view of the mountains and a swimming pool. Over the next few months, his heart fell quickly and completely. His resistance had been weakening ever since that night on the terrace. He wanted to confess his feelings, but he was hesitant. After being so unyielding, if he fell for her this fast, would she think he was flighty, or that she was just a rebound? She was perfect, poised and professional in public, a seductive vixen in private. His failed relationship with Chloe made him cautious. Izzy seemed to sense his hesitation, and, instead of her usual aggressive pursuit, she was gentle and patient, never pushing. Today, she had left early in the morning without a word. When he texted, her replies were vague. He was distracted all day, his mind wandering in class. When he got home that night, the house was dark. A knot of anxiety formed in his stomach. Had he finally disappointed her for good? He pushed open the door, and the lights flashed on. Pop, pop, pop. Confetti rained down from the ceiling. The house was transformed with balloons, streamers, a happy birthday banner, a mountain of presents, and a huge, beautiful cake on the table. It was a birthday party. Block of wood. I remembered your birthday, Izzy said, looking at him proudly. I did all this myself, and I baked the cake. Are you happy? She looked like she was expecting him to fall at her feet in gratitude. Izzy, he was at a loss for words. After what had happened at his last birthday party, he'd stopped celebrating them entirely. The memory was a thorn in his side. But looking at Izzy's smiling face, a wave of love washed over him. He stepped forward and pulled her into a hug, leaning down to kiss her, but she put a finger on his lips. Silly, you're that moved already? I haven't even brought out the big guns yet. Hold that thought. Come with me. She grabbed his hand and pulled him upstairs. He was half exasperated, half amused. He suspected this was payback for all the times he'd rejected her. She led him to a spare room where a gift box, taller than a person, stood in the center. A wild guess formed his mind, but he didn't dare believe it. With trembling hands, he opened the box. Inside was a life-sized replica of an MS-06 FS Zaku II. He stepped forward, stroking the machine's rough, intricate fuselage as if it were a lover. It was made of real metal. No one knew that he loved Gundam, and specifically the Zaku series. He preferred their rugged, utilitarian design over the flashy, overwrought Gundams. To him, the Zaku was a true weapon of war. The more you knew about mecha, the more you appreciated the Zaku's raw, masculine aesthetic. Chloe had hated it. He'd shown her once when they were kids, and her disgust had made him hide that part of himself away. So how did Izzy know? A small hand covered his on the Zaku's frame. He looked up to see Izzy pouting. Are you going to keep touching it? You've never touched me like that. You're not allowed to like it more than me. I'm jealous. He chuckled and squeezed her cheek. How did you know I like this? Not even Chloe knew. Don't you remember that time I dragged you to inspect that mall your company owns? We passed a hobby shop, and I saw you staring at the Gundam models in the window for a long time. Then why did you get a Zaku instead of a Gundam? I did my research. I talked to a lot of fans online. I had a feeling that you'd prefer the rugged, mechanical feel of the Zaku over the flashy Gundams. So I had this custom made for you as a birthday present. A woman who noticed a passing glance, who would take the time to learn about something she didn't care about, just for you. He knew, in that moment, that he never wanted to escape from Isabella Rossi's grasp. Overwhelmed with love, he didn't hesitate this time. He wrapped an arm around her slim waist, tilted her chin up with his other hand, and kissed her deeply. Izzy's heart soared. He had initiated it. It was his silent confession. This man, who kept such strict boundaries with women he didn't love, had finally let her in. He had built a fortress around his heart, and now she was the treasure inside. One thing led to another, and their clothes were shed in a trail leading to the bedroom. A soft cry of pain was soon forgotten as the uneaten cake downstairs was rendered utterly irrelevant. The next morning, Leo was in the kitchen making breakfast when a pair of slender, pale arms wrapped around his waist from behind. He turned, and a weight settled on his neck as the hands moved up to pull his head down. He willingly obliged, capturing her tempting lips. After a long kiss, she nibbled his earlobe and murmured, "Let's have a morning workout. Right here." "You haven't even recovered yet," he said, though he was tempted. He had been gentle with her last night, holding back. "You were. Very gentle, I think. I can handle it." Without waiting for a reply, she nipped his Adam's apple, an invitation and a demand. "Ow, I don't want to move. Feed me." The woman who had been so bold just moments ago was now a puddle of happy exhaustion. "You see, I wasn't going anywhere. Why were you in such a hurry? Now look at you." She took a happy sip of the milk he held to her lips. "You're the grand prize I won. Of course I had to claim you immediately." Grand prize. My old butler, the one who always protected me, didn't want me to come back for revenge. When I wouldn't listen, he made me go to our family's spiritual advisor and get a tarot reading. He said I could only go if I drew the sun card on the first try. And I did. The advisor was shocked. It's an extremely rare perfect draw in his deck, and he said he had to give me a full reading for free. "And what did he say?" Leo asked, intrigued, as he offered her a piece of pancake. "He said my journey would have one great peril, but that I would meet my guardian angel and my heart's desire would be fulfilled. The day I landed, I got drugged, and then you showed up. A ridiculously handsome man, descending from the heavens to save a damsel in distress. The moment I saw you, I was already picking out names for our children. And what do? You go take an ice bath." She playfully head-butted his chest. "It wasn't that dramatic, was it? You have no idea, do you? You know Vanessa?" "Yes, she seemed like a nice girl." "Nice. She was the biggest party girl in the city. Her family sent her to live with her grandfather to tame her. The moment she met you, she became a saint." Leo was genuinely surprised. "Anyway, after that night at the hotel, my brother and father's plots against me stopped for a while. That's the only reason I was able to get my footing. I found out later they didn't know how far things had gone between us and were afraid to make a move. You see, you're my guardian angel. But when I finally had time to investigate, I found out my prize had someone else's name on it. Watching you be so untouchable, I was both happy for you and miserable for me. I thought I was going crazy. But then, lucky for me, someone was blind, and I got to pick up the prize they dropped." "Ha ha ha." She laughed, looking like a fox that had just stolen the prize hen. A phone rang. He picked it up and saw Chloe's name. Then he noticed the dozen missed calls and texts. He glanced at Izzy, whose eyes were sparkling, and answered on speakerphone. "Chloe, what's up? Why call if you're not going to talk?" "Leo, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I was a fool, and I let someone manipulate me. I've spent the last 6 months thinking about everything. Can you forgive me?" Her tearful voice gave him a headache. He thought she had finally moved on. "It's fine. It's all in the past. I forgive you." "Thank you, Leo. Thank you. Yesterday was your birthday. We haven't celebrated together in so long. I tried calling all night. I was hoping I could celebrate with you today." "No, thank you. I'm abroad. It's not convenient. Maybe next time. Was there anything else?" His tone was polite but distant. "No, nothing. I won't bother you then." She hung up, but not before he heard a choked sob from her end. He felt a pang of something complex. "Are you okay?" He looked at Izzy. The little vixen was being surprisingly quiet. He had put the call on speaker partly to let her stake her claim. "You're not jealous." "Why would I be? That's my sister-in-law. I've already won the war. No need to be petty. After all, the Morgans are your family now, too." He was overwhelmed with love for her. She was the perfect partner. He leaned in and kissed her again. He didn't see the car parked across the street. He didn't see Chloe inside. She watched them through the window, her heart feeling as if it were being eaten by 1,000 ants. She had arrived yesterday, but couldn't bring herself to go in, terrified of the disappointment or disgust she might see in his eyes. She wanted to explain, but where would she even start? Her hesitation had cost her everything. It had made her a spectator as two shadows merged into one in his bedroom window last night. She had truly lost him. The treasure she had thrown away had been eagerly snatched up by someone else. Watching another woman receive the tenderness that should have been hers, Chloe wanted to scream, to slam the car into the house and kill that thief. "Mom," she said into her phone, "I've decided. I want to go to grad school for psychology. I need to understand just how stupid I was. Yes, I'm fine. Don't worry." She hung up and took one last, lingering look at the happy couple in the window, then drove away. "Isabella Rossi, you won't be happy for long. I was the one with him the longest. I will get him back." A year passed. For the holidays, Leo brought Izzy home to the Morgans. The day after they arrived, he ran into Chloe, who had just gotten back. "Chloe, long time no see. Long time no see, brother." Her voice was full of a strange nostalgia. They stood in an awkward silence. "Brother, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's all in the past. We're still family. Can I have a hug? As your sister." He didn't refuse, giving her a brief, light hug. After the embrace, the tension between them eased. "Have you eaten? I can make you something." "No, I just got off the plane." "Go on up and freshen up. I'll get some breakfast ready." "Thanks, brother." Watching her go upstairs, Leo felt a sense of relief. She seemed to have matured, trading some of her bubbly energy for a quiet, elegant grace. The whole family was relieved to see Chloe and Izzy get along. When Chloe called Izzy sister-in-law, Izzy was both surprised and delighted. They quickly fell into easy conversation. It seemed Chloe had really moved on. They had a happy, peaceful holiday season together. Another year went by. Aside from holiday greetings, Chloe and Leo had minimal contact. Izzy let her guard down completely, even inviting Chloe to come visit them in Germany for a vacation. Tonight, watching the two of them in a deep, incense-induced sleep, Chloe finally dropped her mask. She reached out a hand, her touch full of crazed obsession as she stroked Leo's handsome face. Finally, her long patience was about to pay off. Tonight, she would take back a piece of what was rightfully hers. The bed began to move with a soft, rhythmic creak, and a series of stifled moans slowly filled the silent room. Another Christmas was approaching. "Mom, I'm not coming home this year. I'm working on a major life event." "Yes, I know. I'll be careful." "Okay, bye." Hanging up the phone, Chloe rested a hand on her slightly swelling belly. "Don't worry, my baby," she whispered to herself. "You just grow up big and healthy. As soon as you're born, Mommy's going to take you to get your daddy back."